Hey Rockstars, I'm JB, expert salesperson and master presenter.
I'm the doctor, psychologist, and behavioral expert.
This is the Entrepreneur Mastery Lab podcast.
We're high-performance coaches that help service-based professionals and entrepreneurs take their skills to the next level.
70% of entrepreneurs fail, which is why every week we have real talk with real entrepreneurs to help ensure you are not one of them.
We're also the inventors of the Be Rich mindset,
where we rise to mastery,
inspire greatness,
celebrate knowledge,
and help others along the way.
So join us in the lab.
And now, on to the show.
What is up, everybody?
That is a super dark beard if I do it that way. That's cool.
Oh, you're just creeping me out. You look like you're part of the Blair Witch Trials or something. There's a Blair Witch Project. Is that movie from way, way, way back in the day?
Yeah, that terrible movie that made you just dizzy because the camera was like 2 inches away from your nose.
Yeah,
that one?
Yeah, that one. You got it, man. Well, Better Business Brewing, the last Tuesday in November. Is this our last one for the year? Are we doing one in December, man? What's the story here?
I think this, well, let's see. That's a good question. I know it might be the week that we're okay, but it might be a holiday week. So,
holiday schmoliday. What holidays do we have coming up?
Some pesky thing called Christmas.
Christmas, New Year's. What kind of big deal is that? Good reason to have a drink.
It's Hanukkah thing going on right now.
Unless you're listening to this during the podcast, in which case Hanukkah is way past. But yeah, it is. We are in the middle of Hanukkah right now. We already celebrated tonight. It's night 3 we celebrated so far. So I got to say, my kid's living it up pretty good.
I've not got any Hanukkah gifts yet. I mean, granted, I'm not Jewish and I don't,
Celebrate
Hanukkah with, but still, I feel like cheated. I want to.
Bro, I sent you a photo of my latkes. They were freaking dynamite this year. Actually, we were thinking back because I'm pretty certain last year you came over and you helped carry the load and make some of the latkes.
I tell you that was 2 years ago?
Oh, God. Was it really?
I'm pretty sure it was, yeah.
Mind freaking blown, man. It goes too fast. Well, if anybody's watching, I'm going to interrupt this for a second. If you're watching us live, first of all, thank you. Second of all, give us a message. Shoot us a note. Let us know who's watching us, where you're watching from. Say what's up. And if you happen to be having a drink, have a drink with us too. Are you having a drink, Doc?
I am. All right. We just got the notification that we're live, so that might help.
We've been live.
No, on Facebook just notified the rest of us, the rest of the world.
Oh, I got the notification. I'm one of the 2 people watching live right now. I've got us up on my cell phone.
Nice.
I got notified. As far as I can tell, we're live. Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. So for anybody watching, our first time using StreamYard and pumping this out, so pretty excited about that. What are you drinking, Doc?
A little gin.
A little gin? What kind of gin?
A little Bombay Sapphire.
Bombay Sapphire? That's a classic, isn't it?
Yeah, I went a little classic tonight. I want something a little clear. I also have my post-workout drink that I'm finishing up too. So
the gin is the during the workout drink and the...
Exactly.
Is Hendrix, or not Hendrix, you said Bombay Sapphire. Is that your favorite? Is that your go-to?
It's what I had on stock. Bombay is good. I do like Hendrix is good. Had a few good cocktails with that. I mean, there's a couple other. I'm trying to think of some other good ones that I've had.
Do we have any
classic?
Tanqueray.
That's the old school classic.
That is. Do we have any gin drinkers watching us live? If you're a gin drinker, let us know. And Doc knows this. I almost only drink bourbons and scotches and whiskeys, but if I am going to switch it up to a liquor, it will be gin. I do enjoy gins, especially in the summertime.
We did have a fun event a few weeks back, depending on when you're listening, if it's live or maybe even farther back, where we had an awesome gin drink. gin and cucumber, and
It's fancy.
yeah, it's very tasty.
Yeah, it was a cool event with the Bright Line.
Challenge with those is they go down quick and easy.
Yeah, well,
Like me.
I don't know that it all goes down quick and easy for me because it's just relative. It's just relative. Well, I, as you can imagine, am sticking with my normal, a little bit of my fan favorite, which, because we don't have a green screen, you can actually see like somewhat clearly, although it's a little tough. Is that showing up there?
Yeah.
You can see it's bourbon.
It says bourbon.
It's my hands down favorite. Is it going to show up? Will it? All right, it's not going to show up. Well, it's one of my hands down favorites. So
I did hear it did show up well on the podcast. They saw it pretty easily.
Okay. All right. Good. That's
predicting the future on
concerning. But oh, we had Dr. P joining us and saying what's up. That's awesome, Dr. P. What's going on? Good to hear from you. So, anyways.
What's a cocktail of choice in at Austin, Dr. P? If not, go. You have time to get one.
Yeah, go get one if you have time. I'm going to salute you, but the both of you, and anybody listening and watching this later. I'm holding my glass to toast you for a great end of November and going into the last 4 Mondays of the year here. Last month of the year. Cheers.
That is something. Cheers to that. Now, while we're cheersing, cheers, Barbados and Dr. P. Her origin just celebrated their Independence Day. They became a republic, so it's an Independence Day.
I didn't know that. That's awesome. You just froze up on me, Doc. I don't know if you froze up on everybody else. Ooh, the rum. I love it. She's a rum drinker. Yes. That's very cool for the independence. So you froze up like the entire time. I don't know if you were trying to say anything, but
I did. I said some spinning wheels that popped up. I said we were also celebrating with Dr. P as Barbados. So celebrating their Independence Day, they just became a republic. So that's pretty awesome.
That is.
And Dr. P is celebrating, and some of our other podcast listeners, I don't know if you remember Seneca, Ask Coach Sen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's some. She posted about it. She's not actually from there, but she was posting about it earlier, from what I remember.
That's cool. It's a big deal. Good for the country and island of Barbados. It's awesome.
I think Rihanna got celebrated today too. So the listener can understand know who Rihanna is.
She's a Barb. She's from Barbados. I was gonna say like a Barbadosian, but I don't know if that's actually correct terminology, and I don't want to actually offend. I can't offend until I have at least 2 drinks. So excuse you, just from Barbados. Rihanna's from Barbados, right?
Is it Banja? Is that what it is?
Bajan.
Should bring Dr. P to tell us all this stuff she can give me here.
Yeah, we're gonna have Barbadian. I was close. I was pretty close. All right. Thanks, Dr. P. That's awesome. We love having you on, by the way. We got to just invite her on to do this with us next time. She can be the 3rd member on the screen. That'll be fun. Well, it's hard to believe we are at the end of the year, Doc. And this is our 6th one of these, our 6th live Q&A that we're hosting.
Sounds about right. Math is difficult.
And our 3rd Better Business Brewing focused one, right? Where we're actually sitting down and having a drink and relaxing a little bit while we have this conversation.
Our 3rd virtual one, yes.
Yeah. We'll do a couple of the Better Business Brewings live at breweries too. Those are fun.
Yes. I do enjoy a good brewery.
So it's interesting. I don't think we took a tremendous amount of time to really market this one or vet out any specific questions from within the EML so much, or did we? Do we have any questions pending here for the day? Anything specific that came up?
I'll pull something up. I think we might have got emailed something, but I'll check that in a little bit. We're also coming off of a successful 2 extra time challenge, so that was pretty exciting.
We are. What were your big takeaways from that?
Time is a challenge for a lot of people.
Yeah, it is.
Even inside the challenge, right? Like, for us, making sure we have enough time to get all the material out there very succinctly. And, some people wanted more, some people wanted a little less, and finding that balance because of time was interesting. And then, just noticing even the people that signed up that were gung-ho to do a challenge still struggled to find time to do a challenge, which shows the relevancy and the need for stuff like that.
Yeah, it was interesting because there was a challenge at both ends, right? It was a challenge for us to try to get as much as we wanted to put in there for everybody. And then it was a challenge for everybody just to carve out the time to do it. When you're dealing with time management, just prioritizing investing time can be tough for people. And we saw that on both ends. I know from our perspective, my biggest takeaway was maybe, how do we manage to the mindset of the behavior and the really science behind behavioral modification, what you talk about all the time, Doc, and how do we manage to how much of that we have in there versus how much really kind of more technical, very tangible do we put in there for people, right? Like how much of a how-to do people want to just, hey, here's a to-do to take action on versus here's how you address some of the underlying issues that are causing all this. And it's tough because I think people want both, but it's really hard to put that in on a tight, small challenge and accomplish all that. So tough on us too.
Right. I mean, that was the goal, is to make it within 15 minutes a day worth of work, which we all know in reality, if you're trying to change a behavior, habit, routine, in the beginning especially, it's probably going to take a little bit more than 15 minutes of effort a day to do that. So, the idea of the challenge is to get started, is to give you some tools to get started, and we'll be doing them again. So I think it was very successful in that way. We had some good feedback on the people that were able to implement those tools and to start putting them into their day and start to get some of their time back, and had some good takeaways. So we'll be doing it again. So if you missed out on this one,
we will. It's not something we wanted to do at the end of the year in December. We wanted to be able to kind of refine it, bring it back out again. But it is an interesting time to be talking about this. Any recommendations on your end for people? Just broader recommendations where the last few weeks of the year, you look at business days left in the year. We've got 3 left this week. Got another 15 or so after that. Less than 18 business days, Monday through Fridays, left in the year. That's not a lot of time.
No. Time, right? We have some comments from Dr. P that I'm going to go back to in a second. But what I would think, a couple of things that I want to keep in mind going into the end of the year. It is that closeout. But time is arbitrary in a lot of senses on the way that we kind of schedule things, right? We have a lot more control over it than we allow ourselves to. The end of the year is just really that. It's the end of a year, but that's not the end of anything that we're doing. So put that into proper perspective, that it's just another day, another mark on the calendar. It's good to kind of, if you feel like you need to refresh and start fresh, it's a good way to do that. But if you also feel like you've been making great progress, but you're not exactly where you need to be on a project or something, just because it's the end of the year, it doesn't mean you have to give up all that progress that you're making because you feel like you have to close it out. And I think that's something we've even struggled with when we set these arbitrary deadlines. And the end of the year sounds like one of those big deadlines, but in reality, it's just a day on the calendar. So just keep that in perspective. I like to keep perspective on a lot of these things. The other thing is, so it's a big holiday season, and you've worked hard all year, so allow yourself to enjoy some of it. You can still work hard during this time, but make sure you also set some time aside to enjoy some downtime, some family, some friends, and whatever it is that you happen to enjoy or who you happen to enjoy.
If I'm hearing you right, December 31st, going into January 1st. I mean, unless you're not planning on waking up on January 1st, kind of doesn't matter, right? You know, it's not an ending. It's just another. We're just gonna, you know, it's a new day. That's it.
Absolutely. I think we get so caught up in that, right? Where we have to, I mean, think about it. Oh, well, it's New Year, so I'm going to start these new diets, these new goals, these new resolutions. Don't get me started on the word resolution. But we feel like it's our new start. So we put all this pressure on ourselves because it's January 1st now that we have to do all these things. And, you know, the reality is it is just another time. So set your expectations accordingly. If you want to do something, you can start it now. You don't have to wait till then. You can start it on January 5th if that's something that's more appealing to you. Do it how you just set yourself up for the most success, and don't worry about the date as much as just the process.
Well, I think that's good advice. And relax and enjoy yourself. I'm going to take a different tact. You know, and this kind of goes along the lines with the, you know, coming from different places and backgrounds. Yeah, to me, it's an opportunity for reflection. You know, a lot of people talk about planning, you know, going into Q1 in 2022. And yes, 100% planning is a big part of it. And I think planning is preparing for the year, huge part of what you should be doing this time of year. But you can't do that without real reflection on the year that's gone on. Yeah, until you can really look back and identify what worked, what didn't work, what you were successful at, where you made progress, where you faltered and took a couple steps back, where you pivoted, and so on. You're really not in a great place to plan for the future. You've got to be able to look back before you look forward. So reflection and preparation and planning, to me, this time of year. A lot of times, I think this is the busiest time of year. And, you know, depending on the type of business you're in and what you do, certainly, you know, if you're any sort of, you know, e-commerce, physical product, I mean, Black Friday going into the holiday season, so busy. But even as a professional, service-based professional, you know, a business owner that deals in services, coaching, therapy, attorneys, advisors, real estate, loan officers, you name it. There's a lot to get done here for the end of the year, and there's a lot to take advantage of that. You're going to find people distracted, and you're going to find it challenging. But the most successful people I saw in my career, they didn't take their foot off the pedal in December. They didn't give up 1/12 of the year, which is easy to do sometimes. And I'm not saying don't enjoy, right? I'm not arguing against what you said, Doc. Don't enjoy, or don't you know, treat it as more than it is. But I also don't think you want to just walk away either. And it's very easy to kind of hit the off button or turn off the lights, or, you know, take a little bit extra time. It's easy to get distracted during this time of year. And it's a great opportunity to really push beyond that for a lot of people.
Well, I think that's the key, right? We're all different. One size doesn't fit all. So a lot depends on your business, your field, your expectations, what's needed. I mean, if you're working in a corporate setting, and you guys are launching a big project in the beginning of Q1, you might want to be ready for that in a different way. You might need to plan a little differently. If you're, you know, working for yourself and you know that you're taking a vacation, enjoy that vacation and reset. So, and, you know, you know what you need. You're going to be the best judge of that. You just have to listen to yourself sometimes. That's the hardest part, right? You know what you want, you know what you need, but you don't always do those things. And I think it's important. I'm also going to point out that Dr. P, who's a highly educated professional, much like myself, is backing exactly what I said. Perspective.
Get off brush their shoulders off. All right, back it up. Yeah.
I feel like we should read her comment out loud.
She's got a lot here that she put in. Dr. P's blowing us up. I love it.
She did say it is all about perspective, like that you mentioned, that at the end of the year is just a date on the calendar. We can start something new today and be working on it for the next 3 months. We don't have to rush to finish it by the end of the year. I agree with you, Doc. And then she also did live reflection and planning last Wednesday. So she's doing her prep, just like you're saying, JVC, how we can fit both of those worlds in. And it is,
all I'm hearing is Dr. P is a very, very smart woman.
That we know to be true.
Very good professional. It's awesome.
One of our podcast guests too. So if you are listening live, or if you are on the podcast and you haven't heard that episode, it is a great episode to go back and listen to.
It is. She was one of my favorites to have join us as a guest on the podcast. Really enjoyed chatting with her. We should have her back soon. That's a good idea for 2022. Bring her back. What do you think, Dr. P? Are you going to join us again one more time? Another go around? This is when she's not going to respond, right? We're not going to. All of a sudden, it goes dark. She goes dark on us.
And you're going to see her next week. She's coming into town. She is also, now in the faculty for my alma mater. Her alma mater, also Nova Southeastern University. So she is flying in monthly to teach a class. Look at that kind of dedication, flying from Austin into Fort Lauderdale to teach a class once a month, live and in person.
Maybe a quick turnaround to Barbados in between too, when she has a chance.
Exactly. I know she's had some good travel this last few months. But yeah, I get to have a cocktail with her, and I'll convince her to get back on the podcast.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. So end of year, reflection, planning, enjoyment, and not putting too much weight on it. Anything that you see change in your business specifically on the coaching side, Doc? You notice any patterns over the years? I know you've been doing this a long time.
Yeah, it's why I kind of rail on the whole resolution thing and why I'm talking about that date. So this thing I used to do every year, and we might bring it back this year, even in our world, because I think it could be fun. A thing in February called Fresh Start February. Because what happened with most people that I saw was they make all these end of these year resolutions, start in January, and start really strong for about the first 4 or 5 days. And then they start to slowly fizzle out. And by the time they got to February, they were totally off their mark on every resolution that they set. And I'm sure a lot of our listeners can relate to that. I'm sure I can relate to that too, back when resolutions were a thing. Because we're setting these expectations that really aren't realistic. They're not goals. They're not strategies. They're not plans. They're not doing that pre-planning like you were just talking about. So every February, I would start this thing called Fresh Start February to kind of bring people back into that, to change off that mindset of resolutions, which were, just these thoughts in their mind that didn't have any kind of process behind it, and then put some systems in place, much like we do when we're working with people, of kind of creating those systems, getting that mindset right, and then actually creating some goals and some strategies to move forward and be more successful. So if you're thinking about that right now, be cautious with those resolutions and actually do some of that planning and the strategy that JB was just talking about, because I think it's super important. It's something that I see quite a bit. Otherwise, we'll see you in February when we do some fresh start, because you're going to be caught in that same pattern.
Yeah. And for all the listeners out there, viewers that know me at all probably know I exercise, but I don't exercise in a gym anymore. I used to all the time. And, talk about the classic resolution, Doc, that you'd see people come into the gym with. And as somebody who goes to the gym, you always hate that period of time, like the first few weeks of January. You always suck at the gym because there's 101 people there. And it's like herding cats in the gym, and they're not going to be there for more than a couple weeks, maybe 3 weeks at most. I think there's a statistic out there. I'm not going to recall it straight off the top of my head, but some like 7 out of 10 people's resolutions are done in less than a month, and it's just out the door. And you saw that at the gym. It used to drive me nuts, and anybody who goes to the gym regularly knows that it just drives you nuts. But what I'll say that's very interesting to me is, although the date is arbitrary, right? In reality, it's arbitrary. We put meaning onto it, right? So the new year, we put meaning onto it. We use it as a inflection point. I'm going to use the word inflection point because I think that's really an accurate way to call it. It can be a really effective inflection point for people to get motivated to make a change. But I think, as you know, Doc, trying to make an extreme change, very unlikely to stick. Better to just kind of commit to making some small changes and building on them, and not trying to do this whole big resolution thing. Go ahead. You're going to say something.
I was going to say it's a cue. It's like, anyone who's done any kind of advertising or branding or marketing, they know like things that are catchy. So you want to kind of have things that sound good together. And new year, new you, everything is related around that new year. I mean, it's even saying in the title, new year, right? So it's got that branding attached to it. So it makes sense to have that kind of feeling, which again is not necessarily a bad thing if you're using it as motivation, as long as you're setting out the plan properly. That's the key, is not to just make I got a resolution that I'm going to do this without any kind of plan behind it, without any kind of strategy. It's just, it's not going to be effective.
I'd rather have people saying new day, new me than new year, new me, right? Hit reset every morning and make a commitment to yourself for something every morning. It'll be a whole lot more effective than trying to make a commitment for a year.
Well, and here the real thing is, you're never going to be a new you. You're going to be a modified you. You can change some stuff, but you're always going to be you. And that's you don't lose sight of that. You change parts about you. You change some things that you can make some modifications on, but you're never a new you. And I think that's where we have this misconception that we're going to make some major life reconstruction in a matter of weeks.
You got some marketers very upset with you right now, buddy. There's some marketers out there going like, hey, what do you?
There's a reason why they do it, because it works, right? I mean, we joke about marketing and all those things, those catchphrases, but they work for a reason, because they play to the psyche. They play to people's, limited beliefs a lot of times, that's the only way that's going to work. It's the only way I can do it is if I have to pick a date, new year, new me. I don't want to be me anymore. And they play to those pain points, and they know what they're doing, and that's why they work, but don't fall for it.
So if you can never really be a new you can just kind of modify. Over time, though, you can be a very different person than you are today. Or you could have, what is a better way to say it, probably very different routines and very different habits and actions that you take on a regular basis. I mean, that's probably a more accurate way to put it, right?
Right. And, even that is not going to change in a day.
No. So I got to ask, man, on your end, let's kind of dig into this a little bit. Just a real world example over this past year, looking at 2021, but not necessarily from a calendar perspective, but just last 6, 8, 12 months. Any change in routines on your end? I mean, it was kind of an interesting year the last couple of years. We had COVID, which was a big disruptor, inflection, cue, whatever you want to call it. What kind of routines have you seen shift in your life?
Well, we were just talking about earlier, drinking the post-workout. I started this thing called Orange Theory, which is very interesting. So whole new way to work out, been consistent with that with a friend of mine. Just getting used to doing something like that consistently. We've done that twice a week for the last 2 months. So that's a fun one. It is a shift too, because over the COVID year, I did all my working out at home, and I enjoy that. That used to be my favorite way to do it, but now kind of trying something different and just making a different change and challenging my comfort zones with that, and doing a bunch of weird kind of movements that my body type doesn't do very well in a room full of people. So it's fun. Like that's more of a fun one I can think of. But like
we're talking about Orange Theory, not Pilates, right? Just double checking.
Yeah, I haven't tried that one yet, but it could be on the list soon. But like getting used to a new work schedule, balancing the idea of some, in my therapy world, some of my sessions are in person, some are, virtual, and both are effective, but they're a different way to prepare, right? It's a different mindset you have to do. Dealing with people online is different than dealing with them in person. So making those adjustments and getting used to that took some time. Now it's become more seamless, where I kind of just know exactly, and training everyone else to do that, right? Like someone who's used to coming into the office now trying to figure out how to do therapy as a patient online was uncomfortable in the beginning for them. And now they're flow into it. So now a lot of those kinks got worked out. So it's been a year of all kinds of fun changes. Those are just a couple off the top of my head that have been interesting. How about yourself?
I think one of the bigger ones for me, and I had a number that, over the last, call it 10 months or so, I feel like I implemented a lot of changes, but to your point, slow and steady changes. I'll zero in on meditation, right? Which is trendy. Meditation is trendy, but what I found with meditation, so I read a book, I read a book around meditation because that's what I do. God forbid I actually just start doing something. I got to research it first. And it was really interesting. The premise of the book, the concept behind it was meditation will help you focus. Meditation will help you focus. But I didn't feel like I could just step into meditation. I got a very busy one of these. You know me, I kind of go fast. And anybody who's watching or listening who doesn't know me, I go fast. I promise. I'm a quick moving guy. It's hard to slow down and zero in and meditate and focus. So I think I'm tomorrow graduating to 10 minutes of meditation in my mornings. 10 minutes. I started at 2 minutes. 2 minutes, and for 30 days I did 2 minutes. Then 30 days I did 3 minutes. And I'm a process-driven guy, right? I like structure. I really do. It's a cool thing. So for me, that was a big one. You talk about making small changes and having new actions and kind of modifying your behaviors, and that's it. As of tomorrow, I'll be meditating, on December 1st, 10 minutes a day for the rest of the month. And I think that's a pretty cool thing to be able to do. So that's one that I found has been very helpful because it's been implemented in a way that I think allows me to be successful, but it does also help me create more focus in everything that I do, which is required in a year like this. Running 2 businesses, you got to be focused. I have a choice.
And I remember when you started that, because it was like, I tried to do 30 seconds today and it was a lot, right? So it's like, bringing credence to what we were talking about earlier about you didn't make that change overnight. That was a slow and steady build up. If you would have sat down the first day and tried to do 10 minutes, you would have failed miserably. And some people, when they do that, they get discouraged to continue because it seems like a lot to overcome. But the way you did it was very good. Like you slowly implemented, tried 30 seconds, moved it to a minute, and over the time built up to 10 minutes, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's come a long way, and this is where reflection's cool because I use a tracker and a timer, of course. Why wouldn't I track everything, and I got to look back and see how many minutes I actually spent on. Well, I'll just forget meditation. Meditation is almost a stupid word for it, right? To me, it's focus exercise. It's exercise of focus. It's a way to build up my focus and get better at focusing, and I got to look at and reflect at how much time I put into that. And also kind of put it on a balance and a scale and say, hey, what did I get from it? And I'm pretty confident I got enough to justify continuing to do it. I feel pretty good about that. But it's a cool time to be able to do that. We got a comment here, a couple comments. Want to look at those?
Yeah, I did like Priscilla's when we were talking about like the timing of the year. Dr. P did mention that I found out we can do this button. In the school system, New Year's is in August and for school classes, and in June for the new fiscal year. So that shows how, depending on the business you're in, there's different timelines that are important to you, which makes sense for a lot of stuff too. Like starting things off January 1st is probably difficult because December 31st is a good party night. So trying to make big changes on January 1st might not be the best day for a lot of it.
No.
Maybe wait a couple.
Hey, I'll speak to that as a parent, man. My kid doesn't go back to school on January 1st. Like his new year doesn't start on January 1st. His new year starts on like January 5th. It's like Tuesday. He doesn't even start on Monday, right? He starts on a Tuesday, which means like in a lot of ways, my life doesn't really start until that Tuesday. Forget January 1st. January 1st is pretty relevant to my life.
So keep that in mind for all those that are listening and that are coming up with some new plans for the new year. Be cautious on your start date. Like don't set yourself up to succeed. And if you're going to have fun on December 31st and your kids are out of school or there's an ice cream party or something coming up that weekend, maybe wait until the following week when everything starts back to a normal schedule. And that might be a more strategic way to do it for you. Again, depending on who you are and what you need.
One size doesn't fit all, right, buddy?
Exactly. We did have some questions from the viewers that have popped up, so let's throw that one up on the screen.
What do we got here? Let's show it to everybody. Some challenges of our members. So this is coming from within the lab. Anybody asking us live questions or chatting with us is live in our lab. So if you want to be able to ask us live questions, you've got to join us in the Entrepreneur Mastery Lab. It's our private Facebook community. That's a fancy way of saying it's free, but you have to request to join, which means you've got to answer a couple questions. It's got to make sense to join. But if you want to ask questions like we're getting up here, just join the EML. We'd love to see you there. We can probably pop it as a comment right into the stream here if we want to for everybody to see.
It is.
It is in there? Awesome. So challenges of our members that we heard about that joined us just in the past couple of weeks. Getting in front of more people on a consistent basis. Confidence. And discipline. Ooh, I like discipline. One of my favorites.
It's a fun word.
You wanna start on these, Doc? You want me to
go ahead, kick it off?
Take a stab. All right. People that struggle with discipline probably shouldn't be talking to me. Or maybe you really ought to be talking to me because I am big on discipline. I'm also big on finding ways to flow your energy so it doesn't feel so difficult to do. But I'm going to key in on discipline here because to me, discipline's a lot of what I was already talking about when it came to focus. To me, discipline's all about willpower. Willpower is all about training and muscle strength, right? It's a muscle. Willpower is a muscle. It's like you do curls with the bicep, you're doing a bunch of curls, biceps really strong and big, you can lift more weight, you can hold something for longer. Bad analogy, I guess, but I think the point's true here. You exercise a muscle, you're going to get stronger at it. Discipline, specifically willpower, which allows you to keep discipline on something, is a muscle you need to train. And this is where things like focus exercise and starting small and building up make a big difference. If you try to kill yourself in a physical exercise, if you're not in shape, you're going to be hurting so bad tomorrow, you're not doing a thing. The day after, you're still going to be hurt, you're still not going to do a thing. You probably hurt yourself more than you help yourself by going at full blast. Discipline requires you to start small and take little micro steps, and you get a lot better. You do that, and you go a long way. And maybe, just maybe, crazy thought here, find some accountability partners, join us in the lab, talk to us, have somebody keep you on the path.
So I'm going to take it more from a psychological standpoint because it's what I do. There's an interesting thing about the word discipline. And as you can see what discipline means to JB, he's thinking it as, staying on task, staying focused, which we heard earlier with meditation, something that's important to him. Now, where some people, and this is where everyone's different, and when one size doesn't fit all, and why words can be very important to us. When they hear the word discipline, they think about growing up, and what's another definition of discipline? Getting in trouble, like doing things wrong. So they associate the word discipline with something negative, not even purposefully. Like our brain does associations of how it's been trained over time. So if you've grown up in a house that had maybe some discipline that was not the best, or some negative connotation to that word because of how you grew up, you might not like that word as something as motivation. So it is different for each person, and that's why I say words could be powerful, but know which ones fit you. So if you hear the word discipline and it gives you a negative connotation, don't use that. Use focus, use motivation, use strategy, and make it fit for you. Everything else JB said was perfect on that too. I'm just adding that in because sometimes we don't think about how those words affect us, and we have to use different ones. And which is why I go, like the word habit, we have different feelings on habit sometimes, because when we hear habit, we understand some people hear habit and it's a very good thing, but also some people think habit and they think about bad habit, like smoking cigarettes or something, and it leaves a negative connotation to them. So if you don't like that word, we use routine or we use behavior. There's plenty of words out there that can fit for you. Finding the ones that work best for you is part of the process of being strategic and using those things. Willpower could be another one. You hear willpower and you make it think it's something that you have to, if you don't feel like you've had willpower because maybe that wasn't something that you were strength at, that's maybe not a good one for you. Maybe then you need momentum. Maybe that could be something that's better for you. So all these words are important. They all work. It's just you have to find the ones that best fit you And if you find one's giving you a negative kind of reaction to it, go away from that one. Don't try to make it fit into you if it doesn't.
And I love that, Doc, because I think I very specifically use willpower, because to me, willpower is not a negative or a positive word. It's just kind of a neutral word. Mm-hmm. Discipline, I would venture to guess most people, if you did a study around it, and I'm not saying we have, but I would not be surprised at all. Very likely you do a study around discipline, and you're going to have most people have a negative response to it. There's certain words, and there is research done on a lot of words, especially in sales. There's a lot of research around language. And, terms like solution don't play well with people. Strategy plays a lot better. Solution, people don't like the word solution for whatever reason. Maybe it makes them feel like they're getting sold. Strategy doesn't make you feel like you're getting sold. Discipline, probably negative connotation attached to it. Wouldn't surprise me at all. So it's pretty natural, I think, to want to shift the word and the way we're using it to be a little bit more effective with it. So I love what you said there.
And it is.
The other part of that question was, you want to say something before I
would say it is personal for you, because I know some of our listeners might hear that and say, that's like the silliest thing in the world. It's a word. But it does have different impacts on different people, and that's okay. So if it does for you, it's okay to make that adjustment if you feel it necessary to.
Dr. P is throwing it out there right here. Semantics impacts reactions and actions. I like that. It's exactly right. It does influence, right? The language influences us. Yes. It's a very powerful thing. Speaking of influence, getting in front of people, getting in front of more audience. I saw something today from Tom Bilyeu, if I didn't butcher the pronunciation of his last name. Doesn't really matter. But I really actually agreed with this. If you're not willing to embarrass yourself, you're not going to succeed, or something along those lines, right? It was a very sharp thing to say, but something to be said about stretching outside of your comfort zone and getting to a point where you're willing to put yourself out there in front of people to get in front of more people. A lot of people are scared to do that. A lot of people are scared to, stir the water or stir the water in the glass. A lot of people don't want to, cause ripples in the pond. You want to get in front of people, you got to kind of take some action. You got to be willing to stretch, and you got to be willing to put yourself out there. It sounds super simple, but a lot of times the most effective things are super simple. They're just tough to do, and tough to do consistently.
Well, that goes back to the same message we've been delivering throughout the whole episode. One size doesn't fit all, and knowing your level and challenging yourself too. So, if you've always been safe and you've never tried to do something out of your comfort zone, that's probably not a great strategy. You need to try some stuff, right? But if you, sorry,
I'm seeing that too. I love you, Dr. P. This was nothing against you. I read that study, gosh, had to be a year or so ago, and I'll send you a message on it. But it was a lot of language used by salespeople, and solution generally wasn't a bad word. So it's not bad to have in your title. It just wasn't the most effective to get the point across.
And everyone's different, and who knows how many studies have been done since then.
It could have been a very small sample size.
We can test that. There's a good, we can retest that one. Dr. P, we'll put that on our calendar together. But the idea of how one size doesn't fit all, when you even going out of that comfort zone, right? If you've never gone out of your comfort zone at all, trying to do something extreme might not be the best thing unless you know you need that kind of challenge, right? So if you know you need that kind of challenge, go do something extreme. If you know someone who gets, is more prone to discouragement by trying something and not succeeding right away, then biting off more than you can chew the first time might not be the best strategy for you. You might want to try something. You still want to get out of that comfort zone, but you might want to try, maybe I'll get in front of 5 people as opposed to 500 people. But if you're someone like JB who is going to thrive on a challenge,
Did you just call me J-Boo?
J-Boo.
I know we're close, but I didn't know we were that close.
JB and Boo. You might say, hey, 500 is not enough. I got to get in front of 5,000 to try to challenge myself. So again, knowing yourself is so important, and why I keep going back to that. And I think that's something that makes us unique. is because we know one size doesn't fit all. When we're working with people, we want it to be, we don't just throw out like a blank strategy and say, okay, make it fit for you. We say, hey, tell us about you, how you're different, what strengths you have, and let's build something around those strengths and make it, take you to the next level. So we're real big believers in one size doesn't fit all, and you have to put in the work that works best for you.
Yeah. And I know we really avoid generalizations. However, I will say there is a level of fear that a lot of people need to overcome when it comes to getting in front of other people and developing an audience. And that's where confidence comes from, right? That's the confidence part of this equation. You have to be willing to, I think, face your fear and address it. I'm not saying every day you need to overcome your fears. In every instance, you need to overcome your fear, but you need to be aware of when fear is having an undue influence on you. And we talk about this a lot. I say this all the time. You cannot let fear control your decisions. Not saying ignore the fact that you're afraid of something. There's a reason we have fear, but you cannot let fear be the full driver. The fear cannot stay in the driver's seat all the time, or you'll never be able to kind of overcome some of the challenges that are very natural for us to have, because putting ourselves out there, meeting new people, getting in front of audience, that's a vulnerability thing. That makes us vulnerable. We become vulnerable to judgment, to attack, whether that's emotional, verbal, whether that's attack of our image, attack of who we think we are professionally or otherwise. It's just a scary thing for a lot of people. So just recognizing that and taking minor steps on a regular basis to overcome it will lead a lot towards that confidence. It's going to bring you to it.
So fear is an emotion. We have a lot of emotions, and sometimes we say good or bad emotions, but they're all emotions, and they're all proper, and you're supposed to feel them all. It's what you do with those emotions, how they become, right? So too much fear could be paralyzing. It could be crippling, just as Dr. P just mentioned. Yeah, fear can be crippling for many. If you have too much of it and you don't regulate that emotion. But happiness could be the same way. You could be too happy, and if you start to force yourself to be happy when it's not even there, that's toxic positivity, and that's actually damaging for you too.
It's been in the news a lot lately, actually.
Yeah, it's because it's part of that idea of everyone's just trying to force themselves to be happy when they're not, and not addressing the proper emotions. Being emotional is good. Feeling sad, feeling angry, feeling frustrated, feeling happy, feeling fear. All those are very good for you if you do them in the proper amount and keeping them, in balance. You want to feel different emotions. It's what makes us human and keeps us going. It's when we become obsessive about it and they take over is when they become detrimental for us. So, feeling some fear is a good motivator for a lot of things. It gets you out of that comfort zone. It helps you grow. It becomes a challenge when it becomes overwhelming and becomes crippling, and then that's when we look at it as detrimental.
Can we say that fear may very well be its own little cue for you? For some people out there, fear can be the cue that, hey, you're getting ready to finally step outside of the comfort zone a little bit. Let's stretch that. Let's get you in a place that you're a little not on solid ground with. That's not a bad thing. And
I think sometimes people misunderstand some of their own emotions, right? So sometimes they think it's fear when it's just being uncomfortable, or when it's being in a new setting and they're not feeling very confident in that emotion. So they turn it into something fear, and then it starts to grow from there. When it's not actually fear, it's just probably some uncomfort or some other emotion that's coming up that they're labeling as fear because that's what they feel like they should be in that moment. So learning your emotions is a very powerful thing too. Insight, any kind of insight you can get for yourself is a good thing.
Insight and discernment. I was talking about that with another coach today, being able to discern. That's a powerful one. Dad, this has been a good conversation.
It has.
Covered a lot of ground, man. But I think we might also be coming to that hour. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I run dry.
Uh-oh.
It might be time, buddy.
I have a sip left.
Okay. Good. And I appreciated having Dr. P join us and give us the commentary. Dr. P, you had some great feedback and commentary. I am going to look for that study and send that to you, by the way.
We have some, I think part of that got cut off. What was it?
Oh, I seem to play fireman way too much, putting out fires. Oh, we do have to cover that. I don't know that we have time to cover that tonight. I would really love to cover that though. I've gotten some great mentorship around that over the years. I think some really good stuff I'd love to share.
And I mean, that was one of my strengths, identifying fires before when I was in the hospitality world, is why I saved so many places from explosions.
There's some sort of fireman joke there somewhere. I'm going to buy you a fireman hat or something for Christmas, buddy.
I threw in the pun of
putting out fires. That was my strength.
Come on, how did you miss that one? That was very punny. But that might be something we can reach out to Dr. P offline, because maybe she'll join us for our next Better Business Brewing, and we can have a three-way here talking about putting out fires and being preventive and the stuff that goes around that. That could be a fun one.
Yeah, it is. Those three resources and the people. Those 3 or 4 items that got brought up in the group, and it looks like that was David Nichols and Shannon Flemings that mentioned those. We'll set aside some time. Maybe we'll put the posts out there this month. Maybe we'll do a live or 2 around that and see if we can address some of that with y'all, because that really is topics that we can dive into pretty deeply.
Yes, definitely sounds like a good one.
Dr. P's on board. One of these, we should bring Dr. P on. What do you think?
That's what I was just. I think you were reading when I said that maybe that we'll do the next Triple B with Dr. P.
Oh yeah, I was ready. Let's plan on it. Let's do that. We're going into December. Let's do that. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, so that's a good way we can tackle that topic. So, and we will make sure to tag David and Shannon in that, so we can get them on board.
Cool, awesome. This is fun, man.
It's been a ball.
And if you're catching this on the podcast, happy almost Christmas, Merry Christmas, happy almost New Year, and we need a schedule. When will you be doing these lives?
We do our lives the last Tuesday of every month.
Yeah, so typically we do this, Better Business Brewing, the last Tuesday of every month. But we could certainly do a one-off, I'm sure, between now and then, if we want to. So we can take a look at that, Dr. P.
Yeah.
All right.
Where you find us in.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I loved it. Let's keep it up.
Yeah, we'll see everybody soon. If you're on the podcast, or if you new to the lab, make sure that you can find us at JBandTheDoctor.com for all these fun details of everything that we do. Our blog is also on there, or you can find us on all our social media at JBandTheDoctor. So you know what social media is. All of them have that same tag to it. So feel free to find us there. Follow, like, subscribe, comment, share, all those adjectives.
Great talking to y'all. Appreciate your time. Close out the year strong. Reflect, plan, prepare. Don't put too much pressure on yourself for January 1st. My big takeaways.
Drink some gin and bourbon and scotch.
All right. Bye, everybody. Be easy.
Peace out, yo.